gentlemen, welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. I'm Michael Sidgwick, joined by Michael Hamflett to discuss everything that went down on last night's show. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure to subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube for daily wrestling podcasts where we preview and review Dynamite, Collision, Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0, pay-per-views, premium live events. We answer your wrestling questions with question and answer time. We have wrestler interviews on occasion, roundtable discussions, and we host a roundup of the week complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WhatCulture. Now, no Will Bourne today. He is becoming the new part-timer, in my opinion, of the WhatCulture Wrestling podcast world. So I've done a little bit more work than usual when I'm, recapping this show. But you're going to have to bear with me a little bit because it's not my natural role. Broad thoughts, Hamflett on this show. I personally was largely enthused by it. At times hit that stellar mark. There were at least 3 or 4, maybe even 5 things where I was like, wow, this is the AEW I like. Some curious choices that don't align with the kind of things I'm into. You can probably guess what it is, but that would be a naked retention strategy nonetheless.
It was, decent, yeah. I was more impressed with, less than it being a go-home show, but we've said this for weeks now.
Of course, sorry, where are my manners? This was the go-home show for All in Texas.
It's like being a go-home month, really.
Yeah.
We were good to go. Good to go home right now, in fact. But, it's... So they haven't... You said this yesterday with one of the few ads. I can't remember which one we were talking about, where you said the sort of telly has almost been incidental.
It was Mercedes Tony, yeah.
A lot of the card has felt like that to me, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But
better character builds than actual plotting, you could say. Yeah,
they've got over characters. There's been a good sense of drama around the top personalities and the fact that they're finally coming together on this big pay-per-view. That, to me, has been the most successful element of them making this their WrestleMania feeling event, is the one night where the biggest wrestlers fight the biggest wrestlers, and they've done it. So this was just decent on terms of being a go-home show. I was more impressed with what felt like quite a confident, almost strutting booking style of, not looking past All In, but making sure that there were things to come in the aftermath.
Yeah.
I like the feeling of the end of the world. This is the most AEW's felt like a wrestling promotion.
Yes.
In ages.
Ages
and ages. Promotion. But I like that feeling of just getting to Saturday and it being Sunday? I can't remember. Saturday and it being the destination. But to be absolutely fair to AEW and Tony Khan here, they felt this conscious effort in some places to be instructing you to look past it too. And I quite admired that. Of all weeks, to make a couple of strides forward with storylines that won't necessarily factor into Saturday or have bigger implications for after All In. I thought this is a company that is just really, really locked into all of its plans. It knows what it's doing. It knows where it's going. And that makes you feel confident that All In's going to play out as you want. I don't have any fears that I'll come away from All In being you blew it. Now was not the time to blew it and you blew it. I cannot see a Monday that we sit here in the studio and say they had it all and it fell through the fingers. I just don't feel like that.
Nah, momentum, everything seems to be on their side right now. Well, AEW Dynamite, July 9th, 2025, emanates from the Curtis Culwell Center in Garland, Texas, or rather the Curtis Cumwell Center. Yeah. The show opens, that's what it's called.
Squirtus Culwell, I thought you were going to say. But
all right, okay. The Squirtus Cumwell Center.
Enter.
Yep. 3 for the price of 1. And the first one's free. The show opens with a Mercedes Moné promo. She asks everybody to say hello to their CEO. If you can get that call and response going, incidentally, it would warm my darkened heart. Can you imagine? Say hello to your CEO. Hello! Please start doing it if you're in the buildings.
It's gotten so over this. People scream it at me.
Yeah. Let's go for it.
She'll know it's a reference to the podcast as well.
Of course.
She's a listener, I imagine.
Of course. That would warm my darkened heart if you could do that. Toni Storm, her upcoming opponent at All in Texas, of course, appears on the screen. She says 2 things come from Texas, and she's at least one of them. Full Metal Jacket.
That's good stuff.
Is that anything?
That is something.
It's something, isn't it?
That is.
Mercedes says she's sick of playing games and asks Toni to come out. Toni does so when, in a great line, Mercedes calls her a mark. Love that. Yeah, mark. Moné offers Toni a glass of champagne as a toast. Moné, a connoisseur, says it was probably frozen at some point. Toni tells Mercedes to save the performative bullshit for her entrance. Toni accuses Moné of being fake, more shallow than a kiddie pool, and afraid of what's in store for her on Saturday. Moné, in response, says she and Toni are nothing alike. After the first interaction, the mutual respect has seemingly cooled. Moné says she's been to hell and back and called the devil her bitch. And at this point, it really came to me that the contrast between this version of Mercedes and the underwhelming wrestler who debuted is getting really striking. She then goes on to say, Moné, pronoun boy, that she is the alpha, the omega, and everything in between. Storm says Moné fears an ordinary life. She herself only fears an ordinary death. Moné is pissed at this point. She wanted this to be civil. It isn't. She gets the name of the pay-per-view wrong in what I thought genuinely was like a rare, effective botch, an inadvertent link to the theme of Toni's promo, like you're afraid, you've met your match, etc., etc., and she seemed a little bit shaken. She never really gets these promos wrong. Toni then screams, "Eat shit, bitch," and attempts the moneymaker before Mercedes sprints away.
Good. Like,
I thought this was really effective.
Not amazing. Nothing has really touched the quality of the first one. And again, it's going over all ground at this point. This is like a good version, a really good version of the worst, like, WWE thing that went back years, didn't it? Premise, conflict, established, week one, loop. Like,
they've done some angles, but it's all a little bit boilerplate. The things you think you should do when building a match for a pay-per-view, like the run-ins.
There's almost this sense with the weekly episodic format that if they don't, and I'm guilty of this, if they don't feature after, say, 2 weeks, it almost feels like, well, they've been gone forever. Why? Why have you left them off TV this time?
Yeah.
But in this case, they presumably fought for their TV time to want to feature live every single week. And that's what, like 8 weeks, where there hasn't really been that one. I've never felt like we're not any further forward, are we, from that first night? And that's all right, because, again, I was just really hyped for the match, and that's what this was. I wanted, I guess, to see them one last time. They've had the final interaction. Is this a criticism or is it praise? Because I'm going to win a pasty off you.
We need to write it on the board downstairs.
We
have not yet done that.
I do not have a single doubt that Mercedes Moné is winning this title. So maybe that's a slight criticism of the build.
I would say
I've just never doubted it.
I would say the consensus is people don't know.
Okay.
So maybe you're just being a little bit harsh.
Maybe. There's never been a point.
No, when you mentioned, hang on, we are getting the big, potentially feel-good Hangman Page title when you need to keep some of those heels hot underneath. Yeah. And that made me think, oh, yeah. But before you made that very salient point, I was a little bit, well, it's a mega clash between two genuine superstars in not just this division, but in all of pro wrestling. I could see it go either way, but then when you do consider the balance that you need narratively,
they'll get me in the match.
Yeah, of course.
They'll get me.
Of course. Now, all I wanted really from this is, and I'm with you, like, they've done some various plots that are just sort of like any two squabbling wrestlers could have done what they've done to each other in effect. Mm-hmm. It feels a little bit generic in terms of the plotting. But again, the characters have been incredibly well established. They've already had that amazing home run face-to-face interaction. I guess what I wanted out of this was a few more cool lines that I can then insert and edit into my headcanon highlight reel. And that's what they did. There was some really good material here. And generally, they came off as two massive stars about to enter the ring for a huge match. And that's really, you could say it's bare minimum, but it's a high floor.
Well, just to sort of not misrepresent myself, I suppose. This is one of them things where I think it's worth getting granular so not to seem bad faith. AEW deserve the freedom to do what we're saying about 8 weeks between the pay-per-views, whatever. I remember this kicking off. All right, we've got 7 more of these. How are we going to do it? So I'll just say 8, but it could be 6, it could be 10. I don't know. They deserve 8 weeks of just back and forth. I'm going to beat you. No, I'm going to beat you. Promos, because of the collected 3 years of work they've put into these characters. Do you know what I mean? Like, Mercedes Moné has been undefeated since she debuted last March. Toni Storm debuted the Timeless character in like late 2023.
August 2023.
August 2023. Off the back
she
of
first said, tits up, like the Dynamite after Wembley.
That's right. She lost the belt and yeah. So like, and that's off the back of being just an in-ring ace for sort of 15, 16 months before that.
Yeah.
So this match is years in the making, even if these last 7 or 8 weeks are just, they are what they are.
Yeah.
So it'd be unfair to say like bad build, because it takes ages to put characters on pedestals this high to then have your match as big as this. Yeah. You know, like you cannot just do this with a wrestler that's debuted 3 months ago and has a 50-50 record.
Yeah.
The work was done.
Yeah.
Like they've been kept apart for this entire time as well. You're doing the work from the day that Mercedes debuts to not put them together on screen. It all counts.
It all, I mean, it absolutely all counts. And I will say one more thing before we move on, that like, what a cell phone putting Evolution against this on the same weekend.
Yeah.
Like, it really, really is. We then cut backstage to a Mox promo in a dimly lit backstage area. He acknowledges, and I'm glad they did this, because they kind of talked around it last week, and I hate that. Don't remember this because we're doing it again. Like, you know, that Triple H Undertaker example from WrestleMania? Like, man, just say you've done it, and this will be better, and convince me with your words, actions, and plotting that it will be better. But he acknowledges that he has, in fact, lost to Hangman Page in a Texas death match before. But he says that was a long time ago. I'm a man of war, not battles. He questions Hangman's ability to withstand a war of attrition, the pressure of the big spot. Mox says Page is completely pathetic. If that was a callback, and I suspect it was. I just loved it, even if it's not. You're always going to come off badly in a comparison with Stone Cold Steve Austin, but just what a collection of words. Yeah. I think you are completely pathetic. He says he's a victim. He's basically talking around the idea that you kind of love the idea of being in despair constantly, and that you're a little bitch who's got this sort of like romantic loser sentiment. Where he's just a ruthless winning machine. Page better be willing to ride into Texas like it's the last time. I thought this was strong.
Do you know what I enjoyed about it? No, I didn't mind it. Didn't mind it. Do you know what I enjoyed about this? I actually felt something here. I felt sad that Jon Moxley has abandoned sentiment in favor of this like ruthless quest for glory. Maybe this is all headcanon. I watched this and I sort of pined for the real Jon Moxley to return, and this idea that with the Hangman Page...
He's a bit sullen here, wasn't he?
Yeah, the idea that with this Hangman Page character, you can explore emotions properly on like a human level rather than just a pro wrestling one. It flashed me all the way back. We often talk about like the Moxley of the pandemic and how vital that character was, but it put me in mind of the specific promo. Like Jon Moxley right now can talk a big game about keeping a belt in a briefcase and hating AEW and saying like, I'm a man of war, not battles, and you're too soft. That tone. But he was once the man that could do all the fighting stuff while saying, call your nan.
Yeah.
So he does understand it, but he's lost sight of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, starting to build this picture in my head of somebody that's just been ultimately lost to this idealist, principled stance that he took long ago. And he's now just too in deep with it. And it's going to take defeat and losing everything to start again and remember that no, there's a goodness to, you can be as hard as you like and you can bleed and whatever, but like Eddie Kingston would tell you to be a good guy, for example. Yeah. And I don't know, it put me in mindset of like, there's a way out for the Jon Moxley character of this if he atones a bit. Yeah. When all of this falls apart, he can atone.
Yeah.
And I liked it on those terms.
When I watched Moxley in this promo, and I recall the last, I would say 2 months of the run, where he's been the guy who he was imagining himself to be like when he was sort of putting this pitch together ahead of Wrestle Dream or the months before. I still kind of want to live in this world for a little bit. Genuinely. Like, I love, like, the New Japan theme doesn't feel like this, like, awkward.
Is that partly informed by a gut feeling that it's ending, do you think?
Yeah.
Would you feel like that if we were still deep in the guts of the cult?
No, because that was crap. What I'm saying is I think his character work, his in-ring work, the aura surrounding the Death Riders, the relative lack of crimes, at least those committed by the Death Riders, like if it was just like this all along, Maybe one day I'll convince myself it was when the fullness of time passes.
I
And
think
stuff.
it's going to be kind to it. I do.
I think it's because I just think he's completely in the mood. And look, it's all building correctly to the perfect moment. But my God, it's going to feel to me like a missed opportunity of like, oh, you got there in the end with this when you stopped being really cartoonish and hokey and you had the right opponents in the mix.
This is really interesting, because that's a very specific take on a Jon Moxley character. I would argue it'd be a borderline disaster for them to not belt Hangman Page. I think it's like a momentum stopper if they don't.
Oh, no.
But that's interesting, that though, isn't
For
it?
him
Like
in particular, I reckon Ospreay could have withstood a loss.
Yeah.
But not Hangman Page. You know what I mean? Aye. The Young Bucks are shown arriving in their limo, which will become very significant later in the show. Before we get to match one, Protoshita, Konosuke Takeshita, and Kyle Fletcher versus Bandido and Brody King.
We didn't know this match was happening and we couldn't preview it, and I resent that to begin with. But I've never met the guy, and I'd like to know his name because I now resent the person who was invited Wilborn onto a stag day today. I'll just say that and leave that there.
I'm sure you get some daft bollocks again. Wilborn, he's not going to come back a changed man.
But what if they don't get booked on
He's still going to
Dynamite?
pretend to like NXT just like you remember him.
Where's Roderick Strong gone in recent weeks? Just ask questions.
The comment section did not like Roderick Strong.
Well, maybe I didn't like the comment section that week. Yeah.
That week, what a coward. I feel awkward going through my notes here because I've got a feeling there's going to be a bit of deadpan coming my way in about 2 minutes. This, I'm going to say, is an awesome opener that flies by. The fans go banana from minute one and do not let up. After some rapid opening exchanges, Brody completes a dive to the outside, this dive to the outside loop with the most breathtaking aerial of all four men, who sort of like Bandido flies into them, and then Takeshita gets in play, and then Fletcher does one, and then by the time that they are all celebrating, like, yeah, we've won this, no, they don't count on the winged behemoth, Brody King just flying through the air. He's looked incredible the last 2 weeks after I was getting a little bit bored of his, like, genuinely a really good idea to be like, oh, I'll put myself forward. Like, he's probably thinking, look, Swerve is the path to take here.
Yeah.
If I just do some jobs and get, like, motivated and show that I'm willing to do the job and just get over bit by bit by bit, who knows what will come in my future. But I think maybe it's working because this guy's looked awesome, particularly in recent weeks. And the sequence, I will say, is paced and timed to perfection. A gasp-heavy fireworks display I have written down here. After the commercial break, Fletcher hits an insane Michinoku driver on Brody King. Bandido tags in and drills Takeshita with like a Kraken snap Hurricane Rana. Takeshita's bump is sensational. The near fall genuinely quite outrageous for a TV match. The telepathy between Takeshita and Bandido, which has been incredible over their in-ring interactions, the various ones over the last however many weeks, is catching, because I thought all four men worked a perfect action match here. And I've written down as well, it was impossible to get bored with the constant dizzying momentum here. I checked the clock and was genuinely stunned to see 30 minutes of the show had expired, because I just genuinely thought this flew by. Bandido counters an assisted powerbomb with a mid-air super Rana. This was exquisite. The finish saw Takeshita counter a tornado with a forearm. Don't think he got all of it, Michael, before hitting Bandido with Raging Fire to win. And if he does this on Friday...
This was really good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it was...
there was not a second where your head was like spinning in terms of like, where's the next move coming from?
Yeah. It is more of a... I think there's a reason why Speed Muscle on Impact will be referenced as they are being today by me, and as they will be 20 years from now. And this tag match will never be spoken of again.
Yes.
That's fair, right?
It's someone's fault as well.
Right, it's just that's
a collection of things.
This has become the norm. This has become the successful way to present a TV match, especially in AEW, like a high adrenaline, all action thing.
This is one of the better ones in recent memory for me.
Yeah, it was. And I think I was thinking about this morning. Did I, like, very uncharacteristically, did I maybe prefer this to the main event? And I think I might have done.
It was neck and neck for me.
Yeah, which I would never have said if we'd have actually been able to preview this. I would have never have predicted that. But again, I kind of like what I got out of this was, because I know what you're thinking. I know you're desperate to say, you're telling me you preferred the bang average carry job by Roxanne Perez over this Hamflett.
She didn't carry nothing.
Well, so I was watching that through that lens as well, because I knew you'd be thinking it. And I was like, well, no, I'm not. The action was vastly superior here. I do care more, significantly, about Roxanne Perez and the Judgment Day than I do any 4 of these. And that informs so much from my viewing experience. But I admire the booking here, genuinely. This was...
I didn't. It was a bit... if he does this on Friday, then
no,
we've got a new Ring of Honor World Champion, which everyone cares about.
I know that's on the nose. But what I was thinking was, Sidge and his ilk will get quite a lot out of seeing Takeshita and Bandido interact again. You've mentioned that in the build-up to this Ring of Honor match. They've given you that. They're absolutely satisfying the base. But having a look, you said it yourself, telepathy. Have another look at this. Get hyped for this match. Yeah. Same building, probably, like with this Ring of Honor main event.
So, yeah.
Telling some people, come back. You're going to get a bit more of this, and it's going to be for the belt. Smart booking. And Kyle Fletcher as well. I have missed him. Fletcher in this fouad with Adam Cole, and I'm off the Collision bus for the most part.
Catch up on Wednesday like I do with SmackDown.
Yeah, I was doing that for a while, and then too bad. But maybe I need to restart. You've told me good things about Collision picking up of late, so maybe I need to give it
there's usually one thing on the show that's awesome. I will say, like, spoilers. It's not a spoiler, actually. They've announced it and it's not been filmed yet. For the 3rd consecutive week, they are doing an all-star 8-woman's tag. Yeah. If you are like, Sidge, why are you such a dick about Collision? Jody Reddit is not happy with me.
No, he sounds like
what's your problem, man? The matches are class. Matches are great. Loads of good matches every single week, and you're still being a miserable bugger about it.
Not a collider.
I'm a collider, me. Saturday Night Salary for fighting. What we're doing with that type of match, what could you possibly get out of it? Oh, yeah. Yes, another one. No.
Fletcher's winning. They're all in.
He better.
Yeah, Bristolian Redditor. He better win. He better win that belt of his. So yeah, he's winning, which is good. Is Fletcher, and good because you watch this and you're like, there's a champion elect, and don't F me on this, Tony.
Yeah.
You said
stop screwing around.
Stop screwing around too much.
Screwing around too much.
You put it best. Which match was it after where you said that's the one? He now earns his spot on every pay-per-view until somebody kicks him off the perch.
Yeah,
and
they have done that
a little bit.
Well, almost every time.
But what I'm saying is...
From when I asked them to.
I don't think it would have been fair for him to have been kicked off a perch by lack of focus because he's been featured on Collision rather than Dynamite.
But he wasn't.
And this match was nice evidence of it. He's got his title match, but it's one of the lesser hyped things on the All-In card. That's fair to say, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
He's kind of just sneaking in with this Adam Cole win. It feels very maintenance-y for Kyle Fletcher more than anything. So it's just nice seeing him.
Love maintenance.
It was nice. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to praise. If you let me actually praise something about this boring ass Man City sideways passing fucking match, the maintenance booking of Kyle Fletcher and Brody King. Actually, I agree with you. Brody King. Injuries are weird. Sounds awful when you're saying it was a good thing somebody got injured. I think Brody King needed to be rid of the Hounds of Hell.
Yeah, I never liked that from the start.
Nah, we kind of identified how that wasn't going to work, didn't we? But now, outside of that aesthetic and vibe. These
balaclava, hardcore music, Brody King is just such an unbelievable specimen.
These Brody King performances are stacking up, and I think I'm starting to sense that a push might be forthcoming. I want to invest again rather than just, here he is coming to do his stuff.
Coming to do his job.
Yeah, I want to
I want
to see him get something coming out of this pay-per-view cycle, because this is the 3rd or 4th time probably in recent weeks where I've been like, he wants it.
Who wants it?
I think Brody King wants it.
No, Brody King definitely wants it. He definitely wants it, and he should get something because this guy's been on unbelievable form. We get a backstage Outrunners promo next, and if you're anything like me, and I know that I am, you would have thought this was absolutely incredible. Not much to it really, but the basic gist here, the basic thrust, is that the Outrunners want another piece of FTR's ass. And looking at Cash Wheeler, I've written down here, I can't blame them. Are we getting 2 out of 3 falls at All Out? Am I going to get my training montage? And, the number one rule is you always fade out in a montage.
Is it possible? I mean, that would be better booking, I think. Could they be looking to try and slot FTR into this tag title match and make it a 4-way? And it's the first opportunity for Christian to overlap with FTR. because that could matter.
Yeah.
Could trigger Cope's comeback at All In or down the line.
See, I thought they hung the lampshade on that not happening. Well, pretty much imminently.
I don't know.
We'll see what Collision yields.
By Stokely stuff about I don't know.
Well, should we just get onto that because it followed. Yeah. It followed. Then go backstage with Renee Paquette, the Patriarchy, and FTR. Stokely doesn't understand why FTR aren't in the World Tag Title match at All In. Me neither. But a deal is discussed. FTR and the Patriarchy are teaming up on Collision to take on Jet Speed and the Outrunners. And if that goes well, and the Patriarchy win on Saturday, FTR, maybe you get first refusal on those newly won tag team titles. Cage says, let's wait and see. And then a cute touch, he's like, you know what? Something about you over the past few months, I like you now, because Christian Cage was like sort of perennially an opponent with the Patriarchy against like FTR Garcia, and when FTR had their random trios clubs on Collision. One of those matches was sensational, by the way, but he likes the cut of their jib now. They've changed their attitude, and he's all for it.
Smashed Copeland to pieces. And
as I've written in my notes, this is a pretty flimsy way of acknowledging the logic gap. Having a character complain that something or acknowledge that something just doesn't make sense is not the same. The TV trope calls it hanging a lampshade on it. Like, this plot makes no sense, but if I can just not care, then you, the viewer, don't. It's never enough for me. You have to do it really well, and Stokely's funny, but yeah, I mean, when was the last time Jet Speed won a tag team match that mattered? Gates of Agony, I guess. And it's not good enough.
No, I suppose what I'm saying is, would FTR, is a 4-way match with FTR in better than a 3-way match that you're just trying to get out of the way? I would argue that it is.
Yeah, because at least then, if FTR and the Patriarchy, or specifically Christian Cage, have like a miscommunication spot, then you're planting a seed for this. I mean, it might be one of those... You know, when sometimes wrestling fans will just say, oh, that makes sense. Like, FTR are feuding with Copeland. They're going to do Edge and Christian versus the Revival. I mean, I think there were plans for it.
It's Toronto
as well, but obviously it doesn't seem to be happening right now. But no, it would be a better match, I think. I think FTR, like that 8 minutes too long match against McGuinness and Garcia, notwithstanding it, Double or Nothing, was it?
Yeah.
I've had an unbelievable year to the point where I don't hate them anymore. Do you know what I mean?
We're going to preview All In full. I think
it's generally accepted consensus that FTR were taking the piss a bit with how long the babyface matches were going, and they needed a change, and they've completely smashed it.
But what I was going to say was this tag match, like the least exciting. There seems to be the least anticipation around any kind of without a title change or
without question. This is the one where, depending on where it sits on that card on Texas, and I'll probably, again, I'm stepping on the dick of the preview. I apologize. I've still got some more stuff, new stuff. So don't worry about that. Freshed out. This is the one where if it starts going at like 11, 12 minutes, there's one or two where I'm like, oh, God, go home, boys. Come on. Don't care about this that much. Do 10 minutes of a sprint.
I wouldn't mind a couple of them.
A little sprinto.
Yeah. Sprinto McGinto.
If you like.
A duo.
Match number 2 is Ricochet versus Blake Christian. Babyface situationally, even though he's done a pretty stellar job of like being a completely unlikable twat. Sorry for the benefit of the other country, America. You twat. Twat and
now you know
cack.
what he's talking about.
Twat and cack. But it's not Blake Christian, of course, so I'm completely wrong there. It's Vanilla Baby. This is cool, if a bit weird and definitely inessential. There's a lot more intent behind every strike and move attempt than you'd perhaps expect between these two. It goes back and forth. You've seen this match if you didn't. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
You've seen this match if you didn't last night. The fans understandably seem a touch bemused because who is the babyface here? The Gates of Agony are watching and eventually get involved in a very cool spot. Vanilla Baby attempts to counter this interference by sort of kicking them about a bit on the outside. And then he steps over their hunched over backs to get back in the ring, but he gets massacred, takes a wicked bump. Ricochet capitalizes on that by putting him away with the Spirit Gun and Vertigo combo. show. It's a backdrop, obviously, just to an angle because Ricochet and the Gates of Agony are now formally aligned. Could we be heading, I'm asking you, Hamflett, for a trios title run?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I was just thinking about it from the point of view of Ricochet's singles run now featuring backup, his crew that he wanted. I was really impressed with this. It's Ricochet and the Gates of Agony, But, just the idea of doing it here and paying something off and not allowing, just a 6 out of 10 idea to fritter away because the all-in build is more important. This idea that Ricochet has... It's a bit like, if we're using all-in as AEW's WrestleMania, Ricochet is a bit like that one performer every year that just through bad luck ends up out of the mix.
Yeah.
Because
you can't really accommodate someone like that, but you should also reward them at the same time.
Yeah, if you were doing a 12-month cycle from debut to now, he'd be one of those names that should have been on the card through the work he's done, and it just hasn't happened. So to give him his stable...
Is it the Gauntlet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
To give him his stable this
For clarity.
week, to give him his stable now, and the work starts pretty much after this week, because the reveal is the reveal. I like this because there's a bit of a challenge here, I think. And I imagine Ricochet will be feeling confident enough to do it, which is, this isn't, oh my God, this is like the pinnacle. This is, get this over, and let's see how he does. And it's something that you've now got to invest in going beyond all in. And maybe they'll be there to help him as his heavies in the Gauntlet, and he'll have a better run than last year because they're trying to cheat to help him win or whatever. Maybe he does win. Maybe
he said all along,
yeah.
I want gold, I want gold, I want gold. I mean, I know every wrestler who's finds themselves preoccupied in a grudge program like he was with Swerve should be saying it's all about the championship, but I've been sidetracked by this quest to defeat this guy who I've now started to really dislike and all the rest of it.
Work rate heel with heavies against Hangman Page is not a bad first TV program, is it?
It's not bad. But he said even before saying, I'm going to complete this quest for gold by getting back up, again, the feeling must be coming back if Tony Khan's borrowing his own homework, because this is exactly like MJF and Hurt Syndicate. Yeah. But in a weird quirk, Tony would always, I think we used to call him Tony 2 times way back in the day, because he would often just do the same storyline concurrently.
And the Pinnacle. Yeah. Literally after losing to Moxley, wasn't it? It's right, I get what I need to do around here. Let's get stable.
Yeah. So Tony's doing things 2 times, everyone's having a good time.
Tony good times.
Yeah, I guess. But no, even before he was like, right, I need a stable to accomplish this goal. He's been talking about it for a long time. So it feels like it's in the plan. It could be a trios title run, like Ricochet versus Hangman, as you say, with the added shenanigans, creating those short, anxious moments of drama when they interfere. That could be something. Yeah. And they've protected Ricochet well in the booking. He often wins, not the big match against Swerve, but they've kept him taking over, noticeably, you might say, on TV throughout this arc.
This might not take any of this, but I just like the idea that they're going to give it a go and they're going to test Ricochet's mettle a little bit as the leader of a group. Gates of Agony weren't over. Never been over. This is
They are getting better. They are getting better. They've improved.
This is like an opportunity for all 3 of them in a different way, and I kind of want to see how it goes. Don't abandon it.
Yeah.
Don't follow up on this. Make it seem like, yes, it's been a bit sort of nondescript, I guess. You win a sort of out of nowhere all heel squash on Dynamite. It's not the way that we would have predicted this stable come together. Yeah. There's been no dramatic reveal as such. But
they've been building it on Collision.
It was going to be the Gates of Agony.
Yeah, they've been teasing it and building it over on Collision.
So it was never going to be the crew.
I don't know if that was a red herring, but no, this is not an out of nowhere development.
Okay, right, all right, fair enough then.
Collision.
But I'm into this.
Which you need to catch up with on Wednesdays.
I think so. Yeah, sounding good.
Sound really such conviction in your voice. Any more thoughts on this? No. I'll get my thoughts on what happened next, because Renee backstage is Paquette with MJF and the Hurt Syndicate. But it could be a nickname. Renee backstage here with the scoops.
Rolls off the tongue.
It does. Renee backstage.
Renee
backstage is Paquette with Maxwell Jacob Friedman and the Hurt Syndicate. MJF wants backup for the talkie talk, but the Hurt Syndicate need to grab their belts for a photo shoot that they must have forgotten about. So they head back to their dressing room. The belts have been stolen by Jet Speed. It's a bit lame, but it's a contrivance to build two things at once.
Yeah.
And at least we're not building an entire pay-per-view main event around it.
Yeah.
Belt theft is like a storyline driver for a main event angle is basically, I'm tired. What else we got? Nothing. Let's do that then.
Quarter 5 on a Friday booking.
This is a one-night deal. But so basically, to set the scene a little bit better here, they go into the dressing room, and is it on the mirror or on and it's, hey, Hurt Syndicate, we pinned your ass on Collision, so I think we should have the tag titles now. Is it a tag title match?
You've just been jet speeded.
It wasn't a tag title match, you stupid slut. It wasn't even a tag match. It was a singles three-way, so how does that give you the goddamn right to steal the tag team titles? You stupid slut.
I will happily walk this back on Monday if this match is awesome. You know, the Speedball Rubicon has been crossed. I was dreading this moment. Like,
yeah, the Speedball is a bit dorky, and now there's a difference between a dork and a geek.
Yeah.
Dorky charm. Class in TV matches. And he's a fun guy who's a bit lame, but I kind of like the things he likes, you know? He's becoming a petulant geek.
Yeah.
Like a little baby, a childish loser who gets his ass kicked, doesn't learn his lesson, just keeps at it, and now he's thieving. He's on the rob.
I think the mad thing is, and I get why this happens, this episode for Jet Speed in general, did it not feel like a bit of a response to some of the criticisms about they just keep getting their ass kicked? But it's not a very effective one.
Yeah.
So now they get beat up and they're pests.
Yeah.
You kind of like you were supposed to do. You're supposed to
get him, Knight. I got an idea. I don't know why they're the nasty
boys. You got
boys.
it, Speedsy.
I got a great plan. Yeah, what is it? Yeah, we steal a belt. The nasty boys.
We'll get him straight after karate practice.
It's weird. They have the biggest match of their careers coming up.
Yeah.
And I've never liked them less than AEW.
It's
No, it's far from ideal.
Felt like a response to fix something and they've broken more.
Indeed. So basically, the gist around this
But for the MJF thing, quite nice.
Yeah.
Trying to solve something there, and I admire that.
It's a little bit of like plate. I would call this not deft dovetailing booking, but like plate spinning booking.
Yeah.
Trying to accomplish a few things at once. Didn't quite work.
Yeah.
But the Hurt Syndicate, kind of a booking conundrum in general. They've not solved it yet. But what followed with one member of the Hurt Syndicate was genuinely quite amazing.
Yeah.
But before we do that, oh my God. We get a fantastic, I love this so much, bro, Omega versus Okada video package. Loved this. Again, we see the seminal highlights from the best in-ring series ever. You could argue, and I would, before Omega soundbites are taken from a pre-recorded sit-down interview, and finally he is forced out of his aloof shell, that sort of disposition where he'll say something while getting revenge that he's not interested in revenge. Then why have Don Callis betray you last year if you don't care about revenge?
Mm-hmm.
And one thing follows the other. You betrayed me, I will avenge you. I will avenge this. No, he's kind of worked it out.
Yeah.
It's like, something bad has happened to me, and I'm going to kick your ass for it. So with like a genuine, actual, elusive emotion and menace in his voice, Okada had to go and make it personal. You're going to see a different Kenny Omega on Saturday. We then cut to Callis standing alongside Omega, saying that he will wipe Kenny's name off the history books come All in Texas. But it is Kazuchika Okada who, again, how long was Austin 316 promo? 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Sub 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Hard times, sub 2 minutes. Sometimes you can say 3 sentences and it's the best promo of any given night. This will stay. I love this so goddamn much. He is the star of the show here. Jesus Christ. Okada says, I felt great seeing Omega's blood. Loved it. Felt great seeing your blood, Kenny. Okada also says, I'll beat you. I'll hurt you. Maybe I'll kill you.
It's funny.
I mean, I just loved it so much.
Yeah, this was sort of had the opposite effect with Tony and Mercedes, because I can't call this now. Good, I can't call it, and you shouldn't be able to. It's this, the original series, the magic, especially in the fourth match, was of like, well, how's he going to beat him? Because this is the one I know Kenny's winning, but now they've made me think he's not going to, and I need him to.
Yeah.
And I kind of need Kenny to win this one, but they've completely sold me on Okada just getting it done.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much in Okada's...
built in Kenny's out, if you like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kenny said, I'm going to be a different Kenny Omega, which works on two levels, because you could argue, well, here comes the angry Kenny Omega, because I thought we'd have this competitive sporting battle, but instead now we're going to have a fight. But it also covers for...
It's not 2018,
We
guys.
might not be able to do what we did in 2018, but we can still do something different. There's artistic merit that could be greater than what you loved about 2017, 2018, which we might get. Loads of crisis pressure on them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I admire what they're going to go out and attempt to do, regardless of how it plays out. But I just keep changing my mind on who's going to win. They've just totally got me.
Yeah. Maybe I'll kill you. Oh, I want you to kill my favorite wrestler of all time, because you're just an intimidating threat. It was so like, what do the kids call it? Out of pocket, like out of nowhere. Maybe I'll kill you. What do you think about that?
You know how like I don't have any football analogies post like 2003.
Yes.
And you guys are talking about like modern stuff. Like there is.
Well, you got your Man City cracking about another.
I did, yeah. That one just
a tremendous TV match. So you're a liar.
That one just sort of came to me. Actually, I quite like that. But huge pep. Anything? The hatred now.
What are you, from New Zealand? Yeah, match is great. Got a huge pep from me.
Do you remember when like you could feel genuine dislike over the 90 minutes between Wenger and Ferguson?
Yeah.
But what always underpinned it was like, I think I'm the best. So that's interesting, because I think I'm the best. And that itself could generate hatred, but it only ever really threatened to boil over. That was kind of Omega and Okada the first time around, wasn't it? The hatred was more about, I hate that I can't beat you, not I hate you.
Not I hate you.
It's just like a nice new dimension.
Yeah.
And I like it's opened that up at the last minute, and I like that.
It is. I'm going to save something for this goddamn pay-per-view preview, right? In fact, I have got, try and remind me, bro, okay? Like a spot idea. I've got a few, and when we come to preview it...
I thought you were doing the bit, the one that you've...
We don't do bits, so...
If we did, yeah. I thought you would like long play in the... there's a pause. And our old friend,
no. I mean,
Kazu enjoys.
I will say that again tomorrow.
Good.
But I have got a idea for a particular spot they can do, provided this match now takes the tone and tenor that I'm anticipating. Kenny Omega's talked a lot about the Manny Fernandez inspired angle that they did on Dynamite about a month ago at this point. Omega's Okada here was talking about the blood. I loved seeing it bleed. They showed the blood spluttering out of Kenny's mouth, which quite frankly looks way better in retrospect than it did at the time. I love the idea of the angle as opposed to the execution. But now that it's sort of happened and now it can be replayed, it looks a little bit less... It looked like a hokey, well-performed wrestling angle. Like, now it looks better in video package form, right? My only complaint about this, the idea of, right, the personal animosity has been heightened. Everything has escalated. There's been a really, like, Kenny's always been big in character in AEW on his gentleman's agreements and his sporting contests, and that's the line. When it's crossed, right, okay, I will kill you, I'll drop you on your head, all the rest of it. So now he's saying, right, okay, well, you've tried to end my career for a third time, realistically, and you've attacked and beaten up my guy, Kota Ibushi, like, I'm pissed now, and all the talk of blood in this promo. I've written down here, my only complaint about this otherwise stellar video package is that the main event of All in Texas is Texas Death, and a bloodbath version of Omega versus Okada would be such a cool, like, an acknowledgement of, well, you know what, I'm going to gig myself within minutes here just to let you know instantly, it ain't 2018 anymore. Like Kenny Omega's been pretty keen to stress, like, he said it on TV. Don't recognize that guy up there.
Yeah.
He was on Twitter, quote tweeting a video package of, like a video highlight reel, a fan made one of that unbelievable
Oh my God.
Omega Ishii 2018 G1 Climax match.
Mm-hmm.
That one, when he's playing his head like the bongos, like Burns and Sims, Burns and Homer. Goes, don't know who that guy is. And he was on Wrestling Observer Radio saying, like, there are times when I feel good, I feel good. And I know he's a wrestler, and he's always had this, like, oh yeah, don't know if I can come back. Oh yeah, I've just done Wrestle Kingdom against Ospreay. Turns out I'm still class. Yeah. So I know there's an element of that, and he wants you, because it's going to feed into his selling.
Mm-hmm.
He wants you to think that he's done if he has this match with Okada. But he's talking about, like, how he's kind of stitched together post-surgery, that, like, can feel the the tape rubbing against itself from his organs and stuff. And I'm like, oh God. So basically he's telling you we're going to do an American style match. That's going to have some shortcuts in it. We can't go athletically like we once did. He's talked about, oh, there's blood in this, and Manny Hernandez and all the rest of it. Whatever.
That's a good catch.
I reckon they're going to do a bloodbath. And if they do, and you know, sometimes there's things a wrestler can do, right? I know this is stepping on the dick of the preview. I've got some spots for this, ones you haven't heard. Spouts. Like, there are things a professional wrestler can do. What is it? Whiskey and aspirin to make sure, like, you get the best. Some people happen to be better bleeders than others, right? Mm-hmm. If they do this bloodbath version of the match, which this would indicate we're going to, God, there's going to be blood in the main event as well. And I'm usually a freak, man, when it comes to blood. But what if Moxley just hits that blade sweeter, and he's used to it, you know? Mm. Like, what if it just quite literally pales in comparison to the blood in another match? Like, I don't know. This means I'm excited because I get anxious and worried about things, but I suspect they're going for a bloodbath here. That would be the ultimate way to do it.
It's smart series wrestling. When there's been loads of matches, you're looking for something that becomes the identifying characteristic, the shorthand for the match, match 5 or whatever. Oh, that was the blood one, for example. Yeah. Like there. So it's you feel like there'll be something that will separate it from the rest, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that.
Well, we'll go into more depth when we preview this show. I've got a spot. God, do it. It'll be great. Tell the best wrestlers of all time how to do their match. So stay tuned for that. I'm sure it'll be better than what they can come up with.
Give it a look, guys. Take some tips. Take some tips from the Dadleys on the old.
Not being funny, like
I don't know. You're being deadly serious.
Because I'm arrogant sometimes. Did I or did I not? What has become a recurring spot in one of the most, well, probably the most well-received modern gimmick attraction match of all time. Did I or did I not? Remind me. Come up with a secret explosion spot for Anarchy in the Arena 2023.
You were the first person to say it.
I came up with it.
Yes.
And now they do it all the time. And they did a one-winged angel through an exploding table. So I'm kind of like Kenny in a way.
Same brain.
Many people are saying it. MJF versus Mark Briscoe.
I mean, Kenny people are saying it. Didn't he put you over for like having, like, was it Cody?
Both.
There you go then. That's all 2 wrestlers.
Well, there was a third who put over the work publicly.
A third wrestler.
Where's the MJF button, man, for God's sake?
Pay attention, please.
It's a good button, though. Miss Scripsy.
Ah, God, I can't find it. One of the only professional wrestling podcasts that's actually worth a beep, okay? We did this. Did I tell you we did this bit where me and Wilborn where he's like, I've got to get the soundboard updated because some of it's out of date. And then he went, right, which buttons can we get rid of? He pressed every button and popped for all of them and said they're not going anywhere.
It's better than ever.
It's better than ever. Don't need to change this. MJF versus Mark Briscoe in an in-ring talkie talk is next, and it is class. MJF says that the name of the segment is the dumbest he's ever heard in his life before mocking the Texans in the crowd. This is tremendous. MJF then advises the hillbilly, Mark Briscoe, to take a walkie walk back to his meth lab in Dumpster Fire, Delaware, and feed all 95 of your kids chicken feed and shoe leather. He then does a jig for the Texans.
It's good stuff.
I was popping my tits off here. You could hear Taz break at the booth as well. I mean, I know they break at most things, but just like the Texas, absolutely stellar.
Have we had MJF take the piss out of hick stuff, cowboy stuff?
Since 2019.
29. Who was that with?
No, he says Hicks and Poors.
No, but I mean so directly. I feel like when he targets various stereotypes, that's part of the fun.
You redneck Hicks.
Yeah, this felt like the most he's ever gone in on this particular stereotype in recent memory. I really enjoyed it.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we can understand why we would like this.
Well, indeed, we have been known to make a joke or two ourselves.
Indeed. It's all in good fun now. Of course. Don't take no offense to it if you're living in a little car.
We are just, those crazy Brits are just jealous of your land and your water slides.
Indeed. If you reside in Little Cock, Arkansas, just know that I love you.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
I reckon I do.
So maybe the crowds, of course.
It's got 23,000 for a non-WWE event.
That's
considering their attempts to hideously monopolize everything and brainwash certain people, I think they've done a very good job, AEW.
I agree. I was talking about this Dynamite.
Seemed a bit snippy.
Don't like this podcast.
Sorry if I'm a little snippy. I'm old, I'm tired, and I've been brainwashed by the Fed for 37 years. Briscoe responds to MJF.
Briscoe, do I really like it? Yes.
Yeah. He says that MJF's stupid scarf costs more than his entire wardrobe. I like this pronunciation of wardrobe. It was really good. I can't even do it. He says Mark isn't as rich as MJF, but he's more blessed with family, unlike MJF, because the word of the day is bankrupt. MJF is morally bankrupt, and he has no soul. And look, we're getting to the point that we previewed yesterday that everyone expected, and in a brilliant touch. One that I'm just gutted with myself that I didn't see coming. It is the unassuming, smart babyface, Mark Briscoe, who everyone, or a lot of people, thinks is dumb, and he's cleverer than most of us. He's the one who he knows it's coming. And he urges MJF to get to the point. Talk some dumb about my brother. Get on with it. I've been waiting for this all week. MJF bristles at the suggestion. And he says, and it's true, that Jay Briscoe is an all-time great and he occupies a special place in heaven. But he'd be looking down in disgust. I love the delivery here was expert, because he says he's found the nastiest way of expressing the most careful and sensitive way of approaching this material. When he says, rolling in his goddamn grave, you get this like pretty grotesque, macabre, like black comedy image in your head, but he's put him over before. Yeah. You know, it's just so well done. This is the best possible way they could have done this. Rolling in his goddamn grave at what Mark has become a joke. If by some God-given miracle, Jay Briscoe could return to Earth for one day, he would tell Mark that it should have been you. We'll get a pretty, bog standard, iffy post-match angle, so I'm going to throw it to you before we get to that, because this deserves praise in and of itself. They couldn't have done this more perfectly. I cannot wait for them to interact.
Yeah, we knew the work was going to be strong. We knew that the reference was going to be handled effectively, but I think even, as you pointed out, like, you kind of wish you would have predicted it just to be able to...
perfectly balanced.
What a
the
needle
heat
thread.
and
What
the
a needle
sensitivity.
thread.
This is unbelievable stuff, this.
Mark Briscoe invoking Jay Briscoe first might have been the best bit.
Yeah.
Because it does this thing, it has this effect on you as a viewer, where not only in the fiction can you, as you pointed out, you can invest in the babyface, you can invest in the smart babyface, which in itself is an awesome Mark Briscoe device. The cleverest guy in the room is the one that stereotypically you assume to be the stupidest. That's been a part of his trait since he's been in AEW. But the fact that he was doing it here...
Far longer as well.
Sitting with it for a week.
There's that story about he took the Ring of Honor locker room aboard once and took an IQ test.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Briscoe just
flew past them
all,
But the fact that he's been sitting with it for a week, and the only sort of sign of weakness, if you even want to call it that, is him just saying, can you get this out your system, please, MJF? Because I know you're going to do it. I would rather you get it said.
Yeah.
And then for MJF, either on the fly which speaks to just how cruel a person he is.
In the fiction, this is.
In fiction. Or to have that in his back pocket. And like, yeah, I kind of knew you would do this too, so I've got this one for you. Like, I just thought the way they threaded that was perfect. Yeah. Again, we've talked about how delicate a subject this is, and I wouldn't really hold it against anybody that just thought, you're the type of person just be like, can we just leave it alone, full stop?
Yeah.
Like, it's only wrestling. We don't need to fictionalize everything. I actually get that.
I get that. And personally, that they're adults.
This is it, right? If you're watching this, you have to assume that there's consent across the board.
I don't assume, I know.
Yeah. And as a result, you can just surrender to the fiction of it, and I absolutely love this.
Yeah.
I'm just so impressed. It's maybe this, above everything else on All In, it's maybe this that tells me the form that shows me the form that AEW is in, because this is this massive singles match that will play out as the opening minute and a half of a battle royal.
They're almost taking the piss.
That's sublime.
That's almost taking
the
the
real
piss.
Stuff, like when you get a Royal Rumble interaction as good as this, it tends to be what makes that year's Rumble.
Yeah, tends to be what you remember years later, like Jericho and Shawn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they've done this here while protecting two heavy heat MJF singles matches, because you've got the mystical thing to come later on as well. Yeah, this is the good stuff.
It's deft.
Yeah,
that's what it really is. This is deft. I just thought is the particular way, the emphasis and the menace, and again, that image that was conjured, rolling in his goddamn grave, how they were able to thread that needle, as you mentioned, but do it in the most respectful.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel remotely cheap. I thought this was absolutely incredible. The fight obviously was on. It's a really good glimpse of what they can do together as well. Briscoe obviously kicks his ass. MJF's like raking at the eyes, and that's how he gets the advantage. But they don't give you much of it by perfect, careful design. I think even a well-arranged brawl couldn't have followed this. I would describe this as not particularly well-arranged. It was yet more sort of, I kind of get what you're going for here with the Hurt Syndicate, but again, booking conundrum that remains unsolved for me as a actual stable. Obviously, there's great stuff. This MGF promo, like some of the better stuff in the ring from Lashley and Shelton. Let's actually get to it before I bury it. So the Hurt Syndicate enter the fray to assist MJF in the fight against Briscoe, but they are thwarted by Jet Speed, who for once, to a degree, don't look like total geeks. That sentiment sort of ends, though, when the Patriarchy join them. There's no deliberate team-up here, right? But having both sets of all-in opponents attack the Syndicate hardly depicts Jet Speed as baby faces. Yeah. It looks like they've looked into getting an advantage other than standing up for themselves, because they have been sort of, again, they're not working in collaboration with Nick Wayne and Christian Cage, who come in, but at the same time, there's two baby faces to one heel and two heels to the other heel.
Nor are the Hurt Syndicate yet this established like bloodline-like group that it's going to take a gang of people to get to.
Yes.
Do you know, if they were if they were a year and a half into this, but they're not. They're the tag team champions that are there every month for the taking. Like
I'm with you. I'm completely with you. So it doesn't really feel like this great, spirited, gutsy, oh, well, we're sick of getting our asses kicked. Yeah. We're Jet Speed. We're coming back to get, because, another heel team is almost helping them, even if they haven't explicitly requested it. A bit wonky, to be honest, a bit janky. And the Patriarchy I've written here at least can chair to Bobby Lashley after throwing him against the barricade, adding a much-needed story beat to Saturday's title match, which I guess we'll go into further detail when we preview All in Texas.
That's it. Lashley is the heavy hitter being the weak spot. Aligns quite nicely. I will give AEW this. Aligns so they've made Bobby Lashley the weaker of the two, but they've already beaten Shelton Benjamin. Yeah. So it's nice how those two things overlap.
Yeah.
It's
that's a nice careful
now you're both
consideration.
We can beat you, and we've taken him out of being bam, not a factor. Well, that's what we're trying to do to Bobby Lashley. So
again, I'll go into further detail on the preview, but this didn't do a great deal to raise my anticipation and expectations for the three-way World Tag Title match at All in Texas. Match number 3 happens next. It's Melo versus Megan Bayne versus Queen Aminata versus Thekla in a Casino Gauntlet qualifier. This is uneven, and after a bright start, almost falls apart entirely. So what happens really is that there's a double team Cazadora cutter from Melo and Aminata on Thekla, except as an attempt, it goes badly awry when Melo just seems to freeze. Seconds later as well, Thekla badly hesitates, breaking up a pinfall after Bayne's sit-out powerbomb on Aminata. And this was really quite worrying form ahead of a complex multi-person gauntlet at All In. But then, in an all-timer of a salvage job, things get back on track. Check out this week's Raw review if that sounds insane, because apparently it isn't.
2 in a week, I couldn't believe it.
Because apparently it isn't insane, the thing that I've just said. Ultimately, the main plot point is serviced effectively in that Bayne wins by putting Aminata away with a running Liger bomb, and it helps somewhat that her salvo of offense in the final third looked really damn good. The right person won and starred in a match that was less than ideal on the whole. Of course, no salvage job, all-timer or otherwise really happened here, because this actually made me frightened about a match it was meant to get me hyped about.
Oh, I was the other way. I was like quite impressed they got this back on track.
This is your Fed brain.
And, well, hang on. And
just be impressed by things that are good.
This felt like it was agented to, well, like what, commence the baby facing of Megan Bayne, who's just been floating in the ether since like splitting up with Mercedes Moné. What a perfect first opponent for Mercedes Moné.
That was Camille.
Oh, it's Camille.
Yeah.
Oh, forget that then. Yeah, I was fantasy booking like,
Looked,
a monster baby face versus but then
I mean, she did look like the part here.
Megan Kane.
Megan Kane. You couldn't watch Megan Bayne here and go, and not think, she kicked ass.
She could be dominant.
You could very easily get crowds behind her as a babyface.
But then you've got like Stat and Willow and Shafia's thing that feels like the narrative thrust of the Battle Royal as well.
Yeah.
And Athena as the potential surprise element. And maybe you're right.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot, I think the ceiling for this is really high. I just saw a pretty badly botched preview it, and you're only going to add more wrestlers. You're only going to then add more interactions and more intricate sequences.
I didn't like seeing it go as wrong as it did early on.
It was pretty embarrassing early on.
I'm rooting a little bit for Melo and Thekla in particular, because there's something about Tekla's gimmick that I actually wanted to work in spite of how silly it looked, because she actually performs it really well.
She's been great on Collision.
Right.
Maybe not great. As I said, I've got I think we overused that word here. She's looked very good on Collision. Like, she looked a bit off her game last night, but on Collision, in these relentless all-star 8-women tags, her and Aminata have definitely got this chemistry.
Aminata as well.
Exploring it.
Yeah, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe sentimentally, I like all 4 of these, so I'm willing to give this one a bit of a pass and hope that at least one of them comes out with a gauntlet as an actual challenger.
Yeah.
Like, feels like a mid. Shame, but like I like Megan Bayne, and I like all of them, and
it was just as well that she was very good at the end, and she was the one who won.
Yeah,
because like, big picture, the match has worked. Action wise, it was actually quite worrying, I thought.
That's it. You know, when wrestling just says, well, we take the piss out of it, right? Or so and so's beat so and so. They're going into this with real momentum, and it's just because the commentator tells you it.
Yeah,
I actually thought that here, by the end of this. So
I can't pick a winner, really. Yeah. I can't pick a winner, and the person who's come off last night is sort of a surprise package, if you like, did look the business. So if I'm being generous about it, you could say big picture this worked, but my God, this was pretty rough.
There is
early going. Rough sledding.
There is a Tawny Khan Casino Gauntlet possibility, because if Athena was to lose to Thunder Rosa, she's a home run for the Battle Royal, isn't she?
So say all that again. I was just looking at my notes.
If Athena loses to Thunder Rosa, and that's the end of the forever title reign.
Yeah,
she's a shoo-in for winning this, isn't she?
Yeah, maybe they could just do it on Honor Club TV. Who cares? Just to preserve the idea. We'll see. So after that match, Excalibur extends his well wishes to those affected by the tragic floods in Texas, and pretty much joined by all of us here. I mean, it's absolutely awful stuff. Then backstage, Thekla and Aminata get into it. It's a continuing thread of that match.
I like this.
It's class.
Over that kicking. I like this.
Some of the stuff that they've been doing together in the ring, it's like, it's one of those where I was saying to Wilborn, I would have potentially done a sophisticated viral, leak campaign of either don't get along, just feed it to a dirt sheet.
Yeah.
They don't get along, but,
They're trying to work through
trying to work through it, and they've got no problems the next time they get in the ring because there's some weird magic between them two where it's like, I like kicking ass, I'll take it. They seem to really want it. They've almost worked their own angle with how much they kicked each other's ass. But then again, Hayter's thing, she was meant to be Thekla's first opponent, and it just didn't happen. And Aminata's been the substitute. And Hayter's thing is, I hit hard. I think this was the idea.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in Aminata, you could say hits as hard as Hayter, if not harder on occasion. I just love this little magical dynamic that is
trying to make an opportunity as well. They're trying to, make more than what was given to them, which I like.
Some of the bumps Thekla takes for Aminata, it's Jesus Christ. I was going to say calm down, but don't.
Yeah.
Absolutely tremendous. Briscoe, who's just wildly animated. You can picture in your head that he's just been going ballistic ever since that fight and the disrespect. He's just out of control to a point I thought was almost too funny. So Mark Briscoe comes into the frame when, Renee backstage is trying to get in between, or is just sort of there when Aminata and Thekla are in each other's throats. They're trying to convey the idea that Briscoe hasn't yet calmed down and will not calm down and will in fact be this agitated every second before All In. Renee backstage was laughing.
He popped a daft there.
He popped a daft. I could have done without this, to be honest. I thought it was a little bit too cutesy of isn't Mark Briscoe funny? It's no. It's that AEW thing that I speak about from time to time where there's this, sometimes it works, and I don't want to say aspiring attempt at wholesome charm and a nice vibe, and the commentators are in on it, and it feels a little bit light in the levity.
Yeah.
I know it will get, I know how episodic storytelling works. I know the stuff with Briscoe and MJF will only deepen. It will only get more serious. It wasn't the night for Mark Briscoe to be funny, I don't think.
No, maybe not. That's fair, yeah.
Maybe he was just, maybe it was Renee's fault. I don't know.
It lightened the load of the whole thing, didn't it?
Yeah.
And they'll pick, as you said, they'll pick it back up.
Of course. I've got no problems. I shouldn't be fixating on this. The penultimate match is Samoa Joe versus Wheeler Yuta. Not great. Didn't move me at all. Very weird, almost worse, I've written here in my notes, than a waste of time. To be somewhat positive, Yuta is at least very, very over at this point as a dickhead heel. But what was this? It's a flat match, and nobody buys Yuta winning. Yuta gets some stuff in, but Joe at times barely bothers to kick out at 1.4 before re-entering periods of pretty tedious, methodical control. It was not cathartic or fun. It badly needed more in the way of black comedy and shenanigans to extract either the maximum entertainment value or heighten the drama. I wasn't entertained or on the hook for this at all. So I thought, if you've got Yuta, it's a bit Wilborn brained this, but prancing around the ring, giving it the guns pose, and thinking he's trying to convey the idea that he's kicking Joe's head in, when really it's Gabe Kidd and/or Pac and/or Claudio doing the work on the outside. And you're just fueling that belief and that desire for Joe to kick his head in, Joe, this little prick. Or, so that would be the black comedy element, or the entertainment value and the drama and the suspense. Or Joe just seeming relishing this pretty gruesome, harrowing beatdown of Wheeler Yuta. It was now something this. Am I wrong?
No, I think this was...
Sorry, I'll just go through the finish first. Ends when Joe, in a pretty anticlimactic manner, catches Yuta in the Kikina clutch, which, to be fair, this place explodes. It gets a massive pop. Joe, as we've talked about, very, very over as a live wrestler. Wheeler set to challenge for the Trios title on Sunday. Let's not forget that. He is the number one contender for a title, and he got massacred. I can't remember the last time a wrestler vying for a belt within days on a pay-per-view looked as much like a pissant as this.
This was a squash by
it was a dull, protracted squash. After which, sorry, I'll get your thoughts on all of that.
No, that's fine, yeah.
Gabe Kidd enters the ring, beats Joe down, surefire confirmation that he is the third man in Texas for the Death Riders.
He's pretty over at the moment, so maybe what he's doing is right. But did you feel here like, if you thought that these two were enemies behind the scenes, this match would have made a bit more sense? Because Joe leaned in so hard on taking the piss out of this kid. And not in the violent way.
Not in like the
more
fun.
More in like it was a long extended version of when he called CM Punk a wanker at Wembley.
Yeah.
That's what this was. That was like the mood Joe went out in. And he's done that a bit lately. And in some cases, a little bit of it has gone the longest way for Samoa Joe in years. Was it Arena Mexico?
He was so over.
And there was only a little bit of it, but every time there was a flash of that, the little glint in his eye, that was as over as any kind of muscle buster he could have done, for example. And as he just leaned in a bit too much, because it did, like, there was almost like a cartoon. And obviously, for that to work, you need to ask the heel who you're wrestling to sell it like it's a cartoon. You know, Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote sort of thing. And I just felt like it was that. And, like, luckily for me, I don't give a single toss about these trios belts or indeed the ops or the underlings of the Death Riders. Less than zero emotional investment.
Zilch.
Like, less than, because I'd rather not watch them than watch them and just be bored. However, to your point, if you're trying to build contenders or you're trying to build Yuta as at bare minimum, like the third guy on a team of three, like now he's less than, isn't he? Now it's like Gabe Kidd and Claudio.
Yeah.
They have to work extra hard because Yuta's such an all-time loser.
Or, and I don't think this was conveyed well at all in the match, he's so obnoxious and he's such a little bitch that the baby faces, and this is not, I don't know why he would spend this much time on it. He's such a little bitch that the baby faces enjoy beating him up and get lulled into his false sense of security by just wailing on this little loser, that in fact he's like an effective trap.
But to jump ahead, you've made the guy challenging for the titles only good at being a human trap. And you've made one of the defending champions.
Oh, I've written it down.
An easy to beat loser, which I did say to you. I said, that's just not AEW will book Jon Moxley to beat Katsuyori Shibata and not care about this trios match. But to put them back to back, I never really thought about it until you described it as like human trap loser versus defending champion who doesn't really win when it matters.
Yeah.
Like,
it's terrible.
Who prevails?
I mean,
like,
it's unpredictable.
I didn't put it together until,
Just not.
It shouldn't have put this match.
Exactly. I can't remember specifically what we said on the previews about it yesterday, but it just never looked like, get in.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe versus Wheeler Yuta. It just always seemed a bit like...
This was a make good for beating the ops before you'd beaten the ops.
I think that was a good version of a match here that just didn't even think about what it could be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Odd. Main event time. It's Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and the Young Bucks versus Hangman Page, Will Ospreay, Katsuyori Shibata, and Powerhouse Hobbs. This, as you'd expect, absolutely ruled. It's a Young Bucks match. I'd bore you senseless and get lost and stammer and everything with the full recap, so I've given myself an out. I will instead run through some story points and action highlights. So, imagine a bullet point list, if you like.
Sounds good to me.
The whole key thread is that Mox and Hangman Page barely interact. Mox tags in the closest dude whenever he was confronted by Hangman Page. He's basically that hypocrite dickhead he's scared that a better man than him is also a better wrestler, because then what has Jon Moxley got after all? That cowardice, that fear.
Good facials, though, because he was trying to play it down as if it was like a tactical thing.
His facials here, when he's got someone who isn't a cartoon character in Cope to play off.
Yeah.
He's got a significantly better wrester.
There was just some subtlety
past,
to his
present,
work, I thought.
Future in Hangman Page. It's like they bring out the best in each other. I'm very hyped about this match on Saturday. He's another thread that's established here, and they've done it across recent weeks and recent interactions, is that Mox knows the buckshot. He's got no answer to it. And it's very well established. And it's going to inform a terrific near fall on Saturday, not least because he's vastly underrated as a 2.99 kick-out guy. Up until Spike and Anarchy in the Arena and the Mark Briscoe match, which I thought was really strong, and the blood-soaked promo on Collision, and just a much better version of Jon Moxley. Up until basically, the Death Rider's actually quite good at the end. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
My prevailing, overarching thoughts are, Death Rider's getting quite good just when it matters. That's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Before that phase, The best thing Jon Moxley ever did post-bag suffocation of Bryan Danielson was, I mean, his individual performance on the whole at Full Gear last year I thought was tremendous. But that 2.99 kick out for the Orange Punch, like Jon Moxley is amazing at it. He never really gets put in that, what's the club then? Okada, Omega, Angle, Roman.
Aye.
That's the
four.
The Mount Rush 4.
That's write that down. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
The Mount say Rush, that again when Wilborn's in, so he gets the first time pop off that.
Yeah. Well, you've knocked me off my rhythm for these notes. Hopefully I can perform an all-time salvage job and get back on track for this recap.
Come on, that's Perez. I like your words.
Yeah, that's the club. That's the club, isn't it? Moxley's in and around it, like.
Yeah, never really thought about that. Like you probably have to do it for longer, or in
maybe it was just that one.
that Orange Cassidy one was
it was expert.
It was wizardry, that, because there was absolutely no way Cassidy was winning, and we were all pretty like, well, this is the start of something pretty big. It's going to go on a long time. Yeah.
And I already hate it. So, you know what I mean? It's like, a lot working against it. I'm pretty sad. A lot working against it. In action highlights, Nicholas Jackson takes this stunning face first apron bump when Hanger just swept his leg. This followed a few people getting kicked in the chest. I've written down mint, all caps. In a mint sequence, the Bucks, learning from a previous interaction, popped Ospreay over their shoulders with a backflip when they anticipated the double Pele kick. Sensing that Will would land on his feet because of his freakish agility, they drill him with a double super kick. I've written down here, you know a spot is great when Tony Schiavone earnestly purrs about it like it's 2019 and he's like falling in love with wrestling all over again. I still think Tony Schiavone, who has his quirks and his flaws nowadays, is still so valuable, because when he just breaks character and goes, oh God, that was class, it always just speaks to me. It's one of my favorite.
It's an aside rather than a call, isn't it?
Yeah. He's like, oh God, that was great. It still gets me. Powerhouse Hobbs no selling a super kick party was also mint. It's really cool to revisit Hobbs and the Bucks, whose interactions were genuinely mint as well. At what a mint podcast during Anarchy in the Arena. Hobbs then eats a double power bomb through the timekeeper's table, which they'd established early, so it didn't feel too contrived. And then at the finish, Mox chokes out Shibata, leading to the post-match angle. I doubt you'll have any real substantial thoughts on the match.
Not really. All action. I like we've already covered it. I like the Hangman and Mox stuff, which is ultimately what they served.
Yeah.
Supply anyway, because
asked and answered this.
Yeah. It was maybe a bit more lightweight than I thought it was going to be from previewing it. Maybe it was the Bucks and Ospreay. I thought there was more to explore that they just didn't bother with, but fine, because it's going to be...
I thought their stuff looked amazing.
Well, it's going to be class on the night as well. Yeah. So you can leave as much as you want in the chamber, because there's always going to be more. Yeah. They're just going to keep it coming and keep it coming. But yeah, it was good. It was good. This is I thought
they could have given... Sorry, because this thought will escape my head. I'm so scatterbrained, and I apologize for stepping on your dick. Given the finish, and given that he's meant to be defending a title on the biggest show in AEW history, Shibata should have got a much bigger, I'm an ass kicker moment. Like a sequence of him just beating people up or something. Like a big showcase moment for Shibata before he just taps at the Bulldog again.
It's funny, isn't it? Because like maybe there's some storytelling. Maybe I'm going to be kind to AEW here. But with Gabe Kidd coming in and stepping in as a replacement, and Shibata just being easily beaten like this, is there supposed to be some sort of like, my God, the Apprentice has absolutely destroyed the Master, like LA Dojo law? Because Gabe Kidd beating
I think you would
Shibata,
build a Master before it looked good. You know what I mean? Before if that was
that's too generous.
A key plot thread.
If he was putting there to be the designated loser, wasn't he?
Yeah, they should have given this big showcase moment. And again, like, in general, I'm at peace with where Shibata is. I'm still at the point where I know he's quite limited what he can do. Even though Nicholas Jackson kicked him really hard in the face, or at least it looked like it. I think people just forget. Was it Morto? Sorry, the Beast, Mortos. Drilled him. Yeah. It's like, has everyone just forgot that you're meant to work around Shibata's head a little bit? He's alright, it's fine. It's been here long enough, hasn't he? That's how things work.
Yeah, he'd be right.
It's got nothing to do with the fact that the more... Anyway.
Not one individual one, it's...
Yeah. We all... be careful, please. Cover the post-match angle?
Yes.
Okay. Post-match angle. The Bucks and the Riders attempt to suffocate Hangman Page with a plastic bag. One thing I liked about it was that they were thinking it around, like, building the anticipation.
Bags are back in town.
Bags are back in town. Diddle-a-doo-doo. And then...
It's too triumphant for a suffocation.
Yeah.
Like Brian's like... Guess who's stoking you out again?
I like the callback, and it made me think, oh, hang on, it is going to end. Like that nice sort of like bookending thing. I don't know if that was like a deliberate thing.
I think so. Think about the origins. Look how far we've come. Look how much you've suffered.
Yeah. Look how much you've quite liked it for 2 months. And now Hangman Page is going to win. But before he can get killed, Hangman Page, we cut to the Titantron. And I use that word deliberately because that's exactly how it functioned here. Swerve Strickland is seen... He cuts like a monologue. That's too much. He does a little promo.
He set himself up for his big moment.
He set himself up for his big moment. And then he makes deliberate reference to, I told someone once upon a time, and it's Hangman Page. Because they're linking Swerve and Hangman again ahead of All in Texas. So, let me get my eloquent promo callback in, even though, as far as I'm aware, how could I be aware of this? Oh, someone's choking to death. Right, it's a good job I've just got a forklift.
Tech lads, can you press record and broadcast? Bags out now.
Yeah, I thought they were going to do this, you see. I thought they were going to do this. He could have been dying.
Yeah.
Hangman Page could have been losing the breaths of his life.
Shibata's getting pinned, and that's at the point where in the parking lot, Swerve's like, am I getting the excavator now?
Yeah, I'll get in the
Someone
excavator now, or the forklift, or the cherry picker, whatever it's called, whatever we're calling it.
Yeah, the LJCB. So,
now is the time.
Just in case. Let's see. Cameraman, come with me.
What if, like, Swerve, out of his own pocket, he's a rich wrestler guy now and all the rest of it, so, it's probably not that much of a financial investment. It's thought, right, okay. Well, we're in Garland Wednesday. Okay, well, I've got an idea of what's going to go down in that main event. Boop, beep, 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 beep. Hello, excavator services? Yeah, I'm going to hire one. Have you got a license? Yeah, because you see, because you probably need a license to
I would imagine so, yeah.
Heavy machinery, unless he's just stole it.
Could have stole it.
But in my headcanon, the stupider you do things, the more dickheads like me are going to question this, okay? Ultimately, it doesn't matter, but I'm still going to do it. I reckon in 3 months, it's the go-home show. How do these things go? Thus revealing wrestling's quite fake.
It's not a yesterday thing. It's a month.
That's the thing. You have to get the license. Or you've had to be so good at driving and operating these things that you've had practice. So even if he's been doing it unlawfully, even if Swerve has been doing it unlawfully, you still have to practice. Otherwise, you're going to look like a right prick if you can't lure the thing.
He's rang up to order it, and he's like, Swerve's on the phone with the guy, and he's like, have I got my forklift driver's test? Yep. And they've just gone, right, no problem.
Write the test.
Anything?
I give the test. So anyway, where are we? So even though he's had at least a few weeks training driving these things in anticipation of this moment that he doesn't know is happening because it's meant to be real.
They introduced the car last week.
Yes! Yes! So the limo gets introduced 7 days ago, and he's thinking, right, okay, I'm going to smash that up. He did drive something at Anarchy in the Arena.
Oh, that's it! Law. Now you cracked it. Now we're wrong. He practiced it for Anarchy in the Arena. The license is still valid for like 3 years. You have to get it,
Yeah.
IBOSH or whatever it is. You need to get your paperwork refreshed every 3 years. So he's well in. That's fine.
Well in.
This makes sense, in fact.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sidge.
Quick question.
Yes.
Quick producer's question. When I'm not. This is a genuine question. I don't want it to sound like it's snark. Did you, as a young Michael Sidgwick, have these same thoughts about Stone Cold Steve Austin's construction experience and stuff like that when he was doing all his mad stuff?
No, because when he was doing that,
that's a genuine question.
No, it's a genuine question.
As in have you been plagued by this all your life?
Well, I became very pedantic deeper in my wrestling fandom when I gravitated towards Ring of Honor, the real stuff. And then later, New Japan and All Japan. I fell in love with the King's Road main event and all the rest of it. And that's when I started to really, at the same time, WWE's heightened world, which I just accepted once upon a time when I was 14. I was just looking at Sable's tits at the same time. I was.
Yeah, lots to concentrate on.
Yeah.
Busy time.
Lots of big surface area,
I meant the product, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And then in parallel, when my tastes are changing and I'm becoming even more of a twat, WWE's stupid, nonsensical, heightened world gets ever more dumb. I'm really leaning on the things I like to make a lot more sense. So when I'm 40 and it's like, I don't give a toss about all this. It's Austin. He can do everything.
Yeah.
I changed into a worse person, I think, over the years. And now here I am, questioning the logic of an angle that everyone else thought was fun in my capacity as a
that
podcaster.
stupid-ass 14-year-old didn't have a job reviewing wrestling.
Exactly.
So,
He wanted one. He wanted one.
so if anything, you're actually better.
Indeed. Better than ever, if you like. So he cuts a promo. Cuts a promo as Hangman Page is potentially in a near-death precarious. It's all in the balance.
I love how wrestling works. The heels are like, well, we better stop.
Don't, Doug.
We better stop the old suffocation and listen to what Swerve
Yeah,
the
I know,
Forklift
I
has to
know.
say. Whoa, stop.
So
He can't get us now because he's definitely up there. We've got a good 2-3 minutes before he...
And like, and Mox is like, just kill him. That's the plan. We're going to kill him, right? And then Nicholas Jackson's going, yeah, but like, man has something important to say. And the audio feed's never amazing, so let's...
we should hear him out.
So you know what these sound issues have been plaguing AEW since 2019, so let's really listen to this. All right, it's some Hangman callback. Oh my God, what's he doing? Oh my God, where is he? It's revealed that he's in a forklift excavator tractor thing. And then I will say one thing about the stunt, right? It actually worked. Because like they've had AEW's history with stunts and crash pads and the like.
Yeah.
Hilariously bad.
Yeah.
Or like if you are really invested in it, which I a lot of the time am, like almost embarrassing, like genuinely embarrassing. Like, yes, Jericho, he was brave to take the fall, but they painted cardboard metal to make it look like he'd been driven through a metal stage.
The coins on the car is one of my favorite
The
ones.
coins on the car.
History.
The coins on the car.
How many coins? I don't know, 50 maybe.
Wasn't it only established literally an hour earlier in the same show that Jericho got a new car?
Yes.
So then Kyle O'Reilly had to get his forklift license in an hour, or Orange Cassidy.
And somebody had to
whoever
get
it
down the
was.
bank and get a load of money changed.
Yeah.
Coins.
This at least looked the business. They destroyed that limousine. It would take a lot of money to repair it. I will say that much. But yeah, Attitude Era pilled. Look, AEW felt that they needed this big visual iconic stunt.
Hey,
I
man.
would argue they didn't.
Well, did a big visual iconic stunt not prove that Hangman Swerve was the tree when they burnt the house down? Like,
Yes.
there's a time and a place, go home angles, big momentous occasions on the horizon, that sort of thing. You can't be, they don't overdo it. Like, I'm not defending all the stuff we've taken the piss out of, but if you sort of zoom out of that.
I mean, I'd like to think not Mr. Dr. Fed.
It's like, well, I was never a big fan of car stuff. We always joke about it around WrestleMania season, the weird AEW's WrestleMania.
Yes, I know.
Cars. Like, that's the, yeah, I think once in a while you can get away with this, even when I think it's just fun. Well, I'm gonna laugh. Like, we're just fun to poke at the narrative inconsistency.
Don't hurt me.
Sacrilege corner.
Smashing up a car.
Yeah, they destroyed a limo in a friggin' angle. I mean, I don't...
The thing that gets me more, honestly, about this, so you're pedantic about like how none of this really makes sense. My pedantry only extends to, like, you got the car a week ago and you even said in the vignette, thanks, Tony, for the car. So you cared that little. You got a limo 7 days ago and your billionaire boss paid for it and you've got access to his credit card. So you've established 7 days ago an item that you care very little for. Like, I'll buy into an item mattering.
Yeah.
I'm kind of an idiot. But
You don't have to be an idiot. Dusty's watch in this Rock and Cody thread is awesome.
you forgot to sell me that the item matters. That's where I have that's where, like, we would sort of debate the friggin' bracelet. I was like, well, for the benefit, like, he's made this bracelet matter, even if it's a bracelet and some people think it's a little dumb. Punk made the bracelet matter more than the Bucks did this limo.
Yeah.
And they've had it dropped from it. Oh, no! And then they've ran. What are they going to do when they get there?
Punk Life versus this match on Saturday, though.
Oh, God, Punk Life's no comparison. We're not talking about that. It's apples and oranges. Like, when the Bucks leave the scene of the suffocation to run to the back, or to do what? Flip the limo and salvage it?
Yeah,
like, well, that would be a miraculous salvage job. To call back.
Goldberg!
Yeah, that was it. Wow!
Goldberg!
Swear, they should have done that. We should have ended Dynamite with them jumping on top of the crushed limo and going,
Swerve! Swerve! They might as well just to make it funny.
Yeah.
As opposed to this, like, you can't do that to the 7-day-old limousine that they didn't even buy. You can't do that. Aye, stupid. I hate the idea of, like, you know, Billy Johnson from Little Cock, Arkansas, just sat with his upper and downer in front of TBS.
Yeah. Keep it going.
Just going, oh my God, can't wait for Saturday night. Well, Saturday afternoon, actually, for my All In Texas All Elite action. I can't wait. I just can't wait to get going, You got the two biggest women stars in AEW history and, two of the best, maybe the two very best in the history of goddamn this country has ever seen, okay? Okay, big claims now I'm making, I reckon. But this match feels enormous. Oh, my God, Omega Okada 5. Yanking my chain, that's almost too good to be true. I'm almost scared it ain't going to reach those expectations now. Oh, my God, the Death Riders. It's finally going to end. I've been waiting for this for months and months and months. And, you got those gauntlets. They're really exciting. Young Bucks and Will Ospreay. I mean, you put those guys in the ring, and it's, pretty much 4.5 every time, and that being in the ring together. Oh, my God, I'm gonna get this here wallet out. I'm gonna buy it. Nah, not yet. Can they do some Attitude Era style stunt that will convince me to part with my cash? Oh, hell yeah, they're just gonna do it. Well, I'm sold. I wasn't gonna do it before I saw that limo get broken up now. But here's my money. Oh, God. Can you pixelate that out, please? Someone might have just seen my sword code. Like, genuinely pixelate that out.
I was thinking he's got to be getting his door pass out because he's not going to put his credit card information on the internet.
I was desperately waiting for him to whip out a wad of cash like that nobody would ever have in the wallet anymore.
I thought you were going to do a bit where it's like,
I was doing so well.
Pops, tear up the tickets to All In. I want to go see Monster Trucks.
Both work.
I love the character you built that was from Texas but isn't going to the show.
No, he's from Arkansas. He's
from Arkansas, sorry.
Where are your manners? He's from Little Cock, Arkansas.
My apologies.
Your apologies are accepted or last. I will say, Swerve in the chains.
Yeah.
Hangman in the chains.
Yeah. It's great stuff.
That was great stuff. Great stuff. What are your thoughts? You just said the item should have meant more. Yeah. I completely agree.
Proudly more patient than you on it otherwise, but that's where they're a bit slapdash. Don't do it because you can't do it as well as the Fed does it. Even when it's looked loads better, it is the Fed's big dumb domain.
It is. Stay away from that domain.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Stay away from that domain, okay? Look, it was really an excuse to kind of do an elaborate bit with my friend. I wasn't that annoyed. Because I tweeted earlier, it doesn't matter. I literally tweeted I registered my disgust throughout the world, and I tweeted I didn't like that, but it was a stellar Dynamite aside from that, and it doesn't really matter because AEW has felt the best it has since March 2022. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below or on X at WhatCulture WWE. Whilst you're there, you can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
You can follow me at Sidgwick. No more other pods today, but we'll be back in action tomorrow to preview the full preview with new thoughts on All In Texas. And if you like that fed slop crap, there's going to be a special, I believe, WWE Counter Programmer Mania preview on
just going to cover all the excellent shows happening
on
over the weekend.
Wrestle Culture as well, and we'll be back next week to preview the show. This was the go home for All In Texas. Don't forget to subscribe to What Culture Wrestling for daily wrestling podcasts. I've had a lot of fun at his expense today, but thank you very much to Michael Hamflett for joining me. Thank you for the beautiful. Where can they follow you?
It's Adam Nicholas.
He doesn't really tweet, but you can still follow him to boost those numbers and that ego. Not that it needs to be boosted in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, if anything, I'm trying to get rid of them, so please.
You can unfollow me at.
Unfollow me, if anything.
So subscribe for daily wrestling podcasts. You obviously want more of this. And thank you very much yourselves for joining us today. We